In a world where manipulation is common, there's a group of women who stand out for their ability to remain untouchable. Sigma females. Known for their independence, emotional strength, and sharp intuition, these women are nearly impossible to control. While others might get caught in the web of emotional games or deceit, Sigma females navigate life with clarity and self-assurance that makes them immune to manipulation. In this video, we'll dive deep into the unique qualities that set Sigma females apart and reveal why attempts to manipulate them are destined to fail. If you're ready to learn what makes these women unshakable, subscribe to the Sigma Sisterhood channel and join us on this empowering journey. 1. View manipulation as weakness. Sigma females approach manipulation with a unique perspective. They see it as a sign of weakness rather than a threat. This mindset gives them an edge that few others possess. Manipulators rely on creating confusion, instilling fear, or fostering dependence in their targets. However, Sigma females don't react to manipulation in the expected way. Instead of feeling trapped or defensive, they recognize the behavior for what it is, a desperate attempt to exert control. The Sigma female's ability to see through these tactics instantly disarms manipulators. They understand that anyone resorting to manipulation is not acting from a place of strength but insecurity. By viewing these attempts as pathetic rather than intimidating, Sigma females maintain their emotional balance. This allows them to stay cool under pressure, calmly deflecting any efforts to control them. Not only are they immune to manipulation, but they also often turn the tables on manipulators, revealing their vulnerability. Sigma females thrive on autonomy and don't rely on external validation. Attempts to control them quickly lose power, as manipulators find themselves playing a losing game. Rather than being pulled into the emotional whirlwind, Sigma females remain grounded, making manipulation an ineffective tool against them. 2. Disconnected from ego. One of the most defining traits of a Sigma female is her ability to separate her self-worth from external validation. Unlike many people who are driven by ego, constantly seeking approval or status, Sigma females have mastered the art of detachment from their ego-driven desires. This makes them immune to common manipulative tactics like flattery, peer pressure, or social validation. For a Sigma female, her value isn't tied to what others think of her. Compliments, praise, or social recognition are nice, but they don't define her identity. She already knows her worth and doesn't need external reinforcement to feel important. This detachment from ego means that attempts to manipulate her by inflating her sense of self simply don't work. Even in situations where others might be swayed by the need to fit in or gain approval, Sigma females remain independent. They're comfortable standing alone even if it means going against the grain. This freedom from ego allows them to make decisions based on their true values and beliefs, rather than being influenced by external opinions or pressure. This makes Sigma females nearly impossible to control through manipulation. 3. Study patterns, not promises. While many people are easily swayed by promises, Sigma females take a more pragmatic approach. They don't fall for sweet talk or grand gestures. Instead, they focus on patterns of behavior. Sigma females believe that actions speak louder than words, and consistency over time is what reveals a person's true intentions. Manipulators often rely on future promises to keep their targets hooked, a tactic known as future faking. But Sigma females are immune to this type of deceit. When someone makes a grand promise or vows to change, Sigma females don't just accept it at face value. They look at the individual's track record. Has this person followed through on similar promises before? Do their words consistently match their actions? This level of scrutiny protects Sigma females from being duped by empty promises. They've developed a keen ability to observe patterns and spot inconsistencies. If someone's behavior doesn't align with their words, Sigma females won't hesitate to call them out or walk away. This makes them nearly impossible to manipulate through false assurances, as they demand genuine effort and consistency in relationships. 4th, quantitative decision-making. Unlike many who make decisions based on emotional appeals or subjective feelings, Sigma females rely on a more analytical, quantitative approach. They weigh the pros and cons, assess risks, and evaluate potential outcomes before making a choice. This rational mindset makes them especially difficult to manipulate because they aren't swayed by emotional drama or manipulative tactics that play on feelings. When faced with a situation, Sigma females break it down logically. They focus on facts, not feelings, and are adept at seeing through emotional arguments or guilt trips. Manipulators often use emotional pressure to influence others, creating a sense of urgency or playing on people's fears. But with Sigma females, this approach falls flat. They don't rush into decisions based on impulse or emotional manipulation. Instead, they take their time, considering all angles before making a move. This logical approach protects Sigma females from being manipulated by emotional appeals, allowing them to stay grounded and focused on what truly matters. Whether it's in personal relationships, business, or life in general, their quantitative mindset makes them nearly impossible to sway through manipulative tactics. 5. Exceptional intuition. One of the Sigma female's greatest strengths is her exceptional intuition. She possesses an almost uncanny ability to sense when something is off, and she often picks up on manipulative behavior long before the other person realizes it. This finely tuned intuition isn't just a gut feeling. It's the result of years of observing people, analyzing situations, and understanding human nature. Sigma females are highly perceptive. They pay attention to the smallest details, body language, tone of voice, subtle changes in behavior that others might miss. This heightened awareness allows them to pick up on inconsistencies between what someone says and what they actually do. When a manipulator tries to deceive or control them, Sigma females can sense the hidden agenda right away. Because they trust their instincts, Sigma females are rarely caught off guard by manipulative tactics. They don't second-guess their intuition, and they don't allow others to convince them to ignore the red flags they notice. This ability to stay one step ahead of manipulators makes them extremely difficult to control. Their intuition acts as an internal radar, constantly scanning for deception and allowing them to respond swiftly and decisively when they sense manipulation. 6th, Contrarian Disposition. One of the most intriguing traits of Sigma females is their natural contrarian disposition. They don't simply go along with the crowd or follow trends for the sake of fitting in. Instead, they're driven by a strong sense of independence and authenticity, which often leads them to challenge conventional wisdom and popular opinions. This mindset makes them incredibly difficult to manipulate because they question everything rather than accepting things at face value. A Sigma female's contrarian nature isn't about being difficult or rebellious. It's about critically analyzing situations, making decisions based on her own values, and refusing to be swayed by external pressures. When someone tries to manipulate her by presenting a persuasive argument or attempting to steer her in a particular direction, her instinct is to push back. She doesn't accept things just because others say she should. Instead, she evaluates the situation carefully and forms her own conclusions. This skepticism makes Sigma females particularly resistant to social pressure. While many people are influenced by the desire to fit in or be liked, Sigma females are comfortable standing alone. They're not afraid to go against the grain if it means staying true to themselves. Manipulators who rely on creating a sense of conformity or using peer pressure to control others find it nearly impossible to sway a Sigma female. She simply doesn't care about following the crowd. In a world where many people are eager to conform and fit into societal norms, Sigma females stand out. Their contrarian disposition isn't about rejecting everything for the sake of it. Rather, it's about thinking independently and staying true to their core values. This trait gives them a powerful shield against manipulation, as they are less likely to fall victim to common tactics that play on the desire for approval or belonging. Their ability to think critically and question authority makes them incredibly strong-willed. Manipulators find it frustrating to deal with a Sigma female because she refuses to be controlled by superficial arguments or social trends. In fact, the more someone tries to pressure her, the more she is likely to resist, making her nearly impossible to influence or manipulate. 7. Turning trauma into strength. Sigma females possess an extraordinary ability to transform their past traumas into powerful tools for resilience. Where some people might be weighed down by their past experiences, Sigma females use their scars as sources of strength. This ability to turn trauma into a toolkit for personal growth is what makes them nearly impervious to manipulation. They have already survived difficult experiences and learned valuable lessons that manipulators simply can't exploit. Many Sigma females have faced significant hardships, whether it's emotional trauma, difficult relationships, or challenging life circumstances. Instead of allowing these experiences to define or break them, they have emerged stronger and more self-aware. Their trauma has taught them about the darker sides of human nature, making them exceptionally skilled at recognizing when someone is trying to manipulate or exploit them. Manipulators often prey on vulnerabilities, hoping to use someone's insecurities or past experiences against them. But with Sigma females, this tactic backfires. Their traumas have not left them fragile. They've made them more resilient and self-reliant. When someone tries to poke at old wounds or use emotional manipulation to gain control, Sigma females respond with strength rather than vulnerability. They've been through worse, and they know how to handle manipulation without falling apart. Sigma females don't allow their past to control them. Instead, they've developed emotional armor, using their experiences as a guide for navigating future challenges. This emotional fortitude means that when someone tries to manipulate them, Sigma females can see right through it. They've been there before and they've learned from it. Rather than being held back by their traumas, Sigma females turn those experiences into lessons that sharpen their instincts. Manipulators quickly realize that what might work on others doesn't work on them. By transforming their trauma into strength, Sigma females become unbreakable and nearly impossible to manipulate. They've faced adversity, conquered it, and now use that knowledge to ensure they never fall victim to the same traps again. 8. Survived worse. One of the core reasons Sigma females are nearly impossible to manipulate is their deep resilience, which is rooted in their ability to survive and overcome significant challenges. Many Sigma females have faced and conquered profound adversities, whether personal, emotional, or professional. These experiences have shaped their outlook on life, making them far tougher and more self-assured than most people. Compared to the hardships they've already endured, manipulative tactics seem trivial. Sigma females have developed a mental toughness that manipulators can't easily break. They've been through storms that have tested their limits, and instead of crumbling under pressure, they've emerged stronger and wiser. This ability to weather life's harshest challenges equips them with a perspective that makes common manipulative strategies seem small and ineffective. When you've faced serious adversity, petty games and emotional traps simply don't hold any power. Because of this, Sigma females approach situations with a calm, rational demeanor that manipulators struggle to unsettle. They don't react to drama or emotional manipulation because they've already been through much worse. This perspective makes them nearly impervious to the emotional ups and downs that manipulators try to create. They know how to stay grounded, keeping their focus on what truly matters, while ignoring the noise that others might get caught up in. Manipulators often rely on playing on insecurities, creating emotional turmoil, or stirring up drama to gain control over their targets. But Sigma females are immune to these tactics. They've already faced their own inner battles and emerged victorious. Their scars aren't weaknesses, they're reminders of their strength. Having survived far greater challenges, they're not fazed by the manipulations of others. When Sigma females encounter attempts to manipulate them, they don't just brush it off. They recognize it as insignificant compared to what they've already endured. This ability to maintain perspective makes them unshakable. Manipulators quickly realize that they're playing a losing game, as Sigma females simply don't react the way others might. Their strength, built from surviving worse, leaves them nearly untouchable when it comes to emotional or psychological manipulation. 9. Self-sabotage isn't in their vocabulary, falling into the typical traps that manipulators use. They don't engage in the negative spirals of self-doubt or second-guessing that others might be prone to. Instead, Sigma females have a clear sense of who they are, what they want, and what they need to do to achieve their goals. This inner clarity and focus on personal growth keep them firmly grounded in their self-worth, preventing anyone from steering them off course through manipulative tactics. Sigma females possess an extraordinary level of self-control, which makes them stand out in a world where distractions and insecurities can easily derail progress. They've built habits that reinforce their goals, and they stay committed to these routines, ensuring that self-sabotage doesn't interfere with their success. By staying disciplined, they also avoid the common traps manipulators set, such as inducing feelings of inadequacy or pushing them to make hasty decisions based on temporary emotions. Moreover, Sigma females don't rely on external validation to feel secure or to make decisions. They know their strengths and weaknesses, and instead of letting outside forces shape their self-image, they maintain a strong internal compass. This lack of reliance on external opinions makes it incredibly difficult for manipulators to plant seeds of doubt or fear. Sigma females are driven by their internal motivations, not the expectations or judgments of others, making them practically immune to manipulation. Their ability to stay on track without giving in to fear, doubt, or procrastination also gives them a tremendous edge. Manipulators thrive on finding cracks in a person's confidence, using those weaknesses to exert control. But Sigma females have already addressed those weaknesses head-on, transforming them into sources of strength. They've done the internal work to ensure that they don't fall into self-sabotaging patterns, making it nearly impossible for anyone to derail them from their path. By mastering their own minds and overcoming tendencies toward self-sabotage, Sigma females have built an impenetrable defense against manipulation. Their focus on self-improvement, emotional control, and internal validation means that manipulators simply don't have any leverage. This mental resilience ensures that Sigma females remain unshakable and in control of their own lives, no matter what manipulative tactics are thrown their way. 10. They're not driven by fear. One of the most powerful characteristics of Sigma females is their immunity to fear-driven behavior. Manipulators often use fear, whether it's fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown, to control others. But Sigma females have a unique relationship with fear. Instead of letting it dictate their actions, they face it head-on. This fearlessness makes them incredibly hard to manipulate, as they don't allow threats or fear-based tactics to influence their decisions. Sigma females understand that fear is a natural part of life, but they refuse to let it control them. Instead of avoiding challenges out of fear of failure, they embrace the opportunity to learn and grow. This mindset allows them to take calculated risks and navigate situations with confidence, knowing that even if they fail, they'll come out stronger on the other side. Manipulators who try to exploit their fears quickly discover that Sigma females aren't easily shaken by threats or intimidation. Unlike those who are paralyzed by fear of judgment or uncertainty, Sigma females move through life with an unwavering sense of purpose. They don't shy away from difficult conversations, tough decisions, or uncertain outcomes. This courage stems from their deep-seated belief in their own abilities and their willingness to adapt and grow from any situation. As a result, they're impervious to manipulation tactics that rely on creating doubt or anxiety. Fear is one of the most powerful tools manipulators use to control others. They stir up insecurity, making their targets feel as though they need to follow someone else's lead to avoid disaster. However, Sigma females are grounded in their self-confidence and are not easily swayed by external pressures. They trust themselves to handle whatever comes their way, making fear-driven manipulation techniques ineffective. Furthermore, Sigma females don't fear being alone or independent. In fact, they thrive in their independence, which is another reason they're so hard to manipulate. Many people make decisions based on a fear of losing relationships, status, or approval from others, but Sigma females are self-sufficient. They aren't afraid of walking their own path, even if it means going against the crowd or cutting ties with toxic people. This autonomy makes them nearly impossible to control, because they're not driven by the same fears that manipulators often exploit. By rejecting fear as a guiding force in their lives, Sigma females maintain control over their own destiny. They don't let fear-based tactics influence their choices, which means manipulators have no power over them. Their ability to confront challenges without being swayed by fear gives them a unique resilience that few people can match. 11. They can't be guilt-tripped. Sigma females possess a strong sense of self that makes them impervious to guilt-based manipulation. Manipulators often attempt to control others by playing on their emotions, particularly guilt, to coerce them into doing something they don't want to do. However, Sigma females are adept at recognizing this tactic and refuse to fall victim to it. They understand the difference between genuine accountability and manipulative guilt-tripping, making them a difficult target for those who rely on emotional blackmail. One of the reasons Sigma females are so resistant to guilt-tripping is that they are highly self-aware. They know their values, their boundaries, and their intentions, which means they don't easily internalize guilt that isn't theirs to bear. When someone tries to make them feel bad for not meeting unreasonable expectations or for asserting their own needs, Sigma females can see through the manipulation and stand firm in their decisions. Unlike people who are swayed by feelings of guilt or a desire to please others, Sigma females prioritize their own well-being and personal boundaries. They recognize that saying no doesn't make them selfish, and they don't let others use guilt to make them feel otherwise. This clarity of self allows them to assert their boundaries without feeling responsible for others' emotions or manipulative attempts to make them feel guilty. Manipulators often use guilt as a way to make their targets feel obligated to act in a certain way. They create scenarios where their victim feels they've done something wrong or haven't lived up to someone's expectations, pushing them to make up for it by complying with the manipulator's wishes. But Sigma females don't fall for this trick. They hold themselves accountable for their actions, but they don't take responsibility for the feelings or expectations that others try to impose on them. Because Sigma females are clear about their own values and priorities, they refuse to let guilt-tripping derail them from their path. If someone tries to manipulate them through guilt, they quickly identify it for what it is and respond with assertiveness rather than compliance. This makes guilt-based tactics ineffective against them, leaving manipulators with no power over their decisions. By maintaining a firm sense of self and refusing to let guilt manipulate their actions, Sigma females remain in control of their own lives. They are unwavering in their boundaries and do not allow emotional manipulation to dictate their choices. This emotional strength makes them incredibly hard to manipulate, especially when guilt is the primary weapon of choice. Sigma females are a unique force to be reckoned with. Their resilience, independence, and deep self-awareness create an unshakable foundation that makes them incredibly difficult to manipulate. Unlike many, they don't conform to societal pressures or the expectations of others. Instead, they carve their own path, driven by internal motivations and a strong sense of self. Whether it's the ability to avoid toxic relationships, resist emotional manipulation, or stand firm in their boundaries, Sigma females consistently rise above the tactics that manipulators rely on. Their fearlessness, independence, and immunity to guilt-based manipulation come from their refusal to be driven by insecurity or a need for external validation. By knowing who they are, embracing their independence, and staying true to their values, Sigma females ensure that they remain in control of their own lives. They trust their instincts, embrace their autonomy, and reject any attempts to undermine their confidence. In a world where manipulation is often subtle and pervasive, Sigma females shine as examples of how to live authentically, free from the influence of toxic individuals. They demonstrate that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. By focusing on self-improvement, maintaining strong emotional boundaries, and refusing to be driven by fear or guilt, Sigma females empower themselves to lead fulfilling, autonomous lives on their own terms.